Cool. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Back once again, another Friday night with me and Kobe, and we've got another special guest waiting in the wings. But first things first, how you doing, mate?
Friday Night Live? Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Just finished work. Literally got in the door about 10 minutes ago. Quick brush of the teeth, bit of deodorant, straight straight on.
You got to freshen up for your guests, man. Come on now.
I thought I'd represent the boys as well, representing the boys tonight. Seems like they've been working so hard lately.
Awesome.
I thought I'd give them a little shout out, the old Swifts, Bishop Stortford Swifts boys.
Nice one. I've gone with the DC Football Academy this number. It's this nice little Puma number here.
Yeah, it's so nice, isn't it? So nice, that kit.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I like it. But yeah, shout out to them guys as well. So yeah.
Mine's in the post, I think. So.
I'm sure it is.
They've had to order some more material in.
Well, we've got another guest, another Friday night. Yeah, very happy about this one because this guy he's done a lot, not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well. Very, very detailed story as well. Played for his country and managed a country as well. So really looking forward to getting to grips and finding out about his story and getting into coaching and stuff.
Yeah, another top tier guest, mate.
There we go. So should we bring him in?
Yes.
Here we go. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have Mr. Michael Johnson. Here we go.
Yeah.
Evening, chaps. How are you?
Evening, Michael.
You're good?
Yeah, all good, man. I'm feeling really good. Excellent. Looking forward to tonight.
No, thank you very much, man. Thank you for joining us and thank you for taking some time out to speak to us as well. But first things first, I want to just ask you, how are you doing during these times as well? Obviously, we're still going down. Was it lockdown 3? I'm losing lockdowns now, but how are you during these times?
Do you know what? I understand it's a difficult time for everybody concerned. Obviously, it's not great. Nobody's going anywhere. Kids are off school. People are losing jobs and loved ones. And so for me, it's just been a period of reflection and trying to get as much as I can out of being at home. So it's had its pluses in terms of just being able to reflect, a bit of family time, and just hoping that as soon as this period closes, that you can move forward a better person for the time actually spent developing yourself.
No, indeed. And I always say to people as well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have to go through this again. So make the most of this period as well. If it's a case of learning from something or learning some new skills or something like that, make the most of this time off if you have it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to just try and, take it for what it is, which is time, at home, whether it's with loved ones, whether it's developing yourself, reflecting on things, or actually setting new targets. So there's always something that you can be doing, but I know it's difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Now,
what sort of advice would you give to I know we're in lockdown and there isn't, it's like you say, there isn't much to do for people other than maybe watch videos or sort of coach themselves. So as for an up and coming young coach, how would you say to sort of occupy your time? What's the best way to occupy their sort of time that would benefit them the most?
I think what I've done is look at different methods of leadership and see what fits with me in terms of identifying maybe a manager's traits, character, how that person plays, maybe even just learning a new style of leadership coaching. So you might be a very good defensive coach. You might then look at, who does really good attacking coaches. And trying to pick things from what they do and how they set up their team and why are they good attacking? What is it? What are the trends that you can see throughout 90 minutes of watching the game? Is it the left hand side? Is it the right hand side? Is it the dead ball line to get to? Is it crosses early? What do they do and how do they try and create chances? What makes them a good coach or a good defensive coach, attacking coach? And then try to have something that you can actually, when you go back, it might be the polar opposite of what you did before. But now you've got some, you can be very, very adaptable now. You can go one way or the other way, depending on the opponent, the team that you're coming up against. So for me, it's been really interesting watching different styles of play, seeing what managers do and what makes them the manager that they are.
Yeah, brilliant.
Now, Michael, obviously you're a Midlands boy. You grew up in Nottingham, is that correct? Yeah, Nottingham. Derby fans won't like me for saying that, but yeah, I'm a Nottingham born and bred and very proud of it. Okay, what was it like growing up in Nottingham? And who was your first team that you played for when you first got into football that you can remember? Well, actually, it was interesting growing up in Nottingham because at the time when I was growing up, there was quite a few footballers coming through from this area. So we had Andy Cole, we had Darren Huckabee. He went on to play for Coventry and Newcastle and Norwich. We also had Devon White, Martin Carruthers. So there was quite a Jermaine Genius as well. I nearly forgot JJ. So quite a good group of players what played in obviously the grassroots football team then. I played for Clifton Football Club, which is a club right at the north of Nottingham. And it was from that club itself that I actually managed to get selected to go and represent Nottingham boys, which led to my first opportunity in playing for Notts County at under 15s. It was balmy back then because you could play literally, right? Well, you both would know. You literally would play 5 or 6 games a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days.
and by the way, I had a paper round because I had to get a paper round to buy bus tickets to get around the city to play football.
No days off.
Yeah, it was no days off. There's no days off. You'd play in the week for your school, then you'd play Saturday morning for your city, then you'd play Saturday afternoon for your Clifton, your local grassroots club, and then your Sunday would be for Notts County.
Yeah.
Wow. So you literally throw in 4 or 5 games a week in, which was, obviously now, wow, you could do that now, but then that was the norm.
Yeah.
So
throw in the odd game of cage ball.
Yeah. Ball.
8 in the morning till 12 at night.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, when you got picked up by Notts County, who was the manager at the time, and who was the sort of players that were coming through? Any names that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, my first manager was Neil Warnock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was that's early 90s. I'm going back a bit now, probably 91, 92, and the young players coming through then would have been Tommy Johnson and a guy called Mark Draper. Mark Draper played for Leicester, Aston Villa, obviously Notts County. Tommy played for Villa and Celtic, where he was really well known. Played a little bit for Burnley, I think, as well.
So what was Neil Warnock like as a manager? I can only imagine.
Oh man. I mean, I tell you what, he's piped down now. No, it was really good. I mean, there's a lot of things that he done back then that you couldn't do now. He was very still there. Yeah. He was very much. Yeah, he was very much says it as it is. Back then, it was the norm for him to come up and literally grab a player by the scruff of the neck. It was the norm back then. If you wasn't doing what you were being told to do, you're off. I remember a game when at 17 years old, I got done on the near post, and I went on a sub. First of all, I went on a sub. So 70th minute, I go on, I get done at the near post, and it's 3-2. And about 5 minutes to go, he drags me off. But there's no subs to come on. The subs have been used.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, I'm on the pitch. I see the number come up, and I'm thinking, I've only just got on. And I can see him remonstrating, going, "Get off here. Come on, off. It was a bit more expletives than that, but I'll just leave it there. And I've gone like that, what, me? And he's gone, yeah, you off. And as I've walked off, obviously there's nobody coming on. So you can see the stadium announcer going, number 19, Michael Johnson, being replaced by, and there was just a deaf silence. And what he said to me as I walked off, he said, I'd rather play with 10 than watch that. And there was another word on the end of it, but I'll leave it there as well.
Mate, how did you not punch him in his face?
But do you know what? Do you know what? You say that, right? And the game had gone because it was 3-2, scored again 4-2, and there was like 3 or 4 minutes to go. But you know what it made me do? It made me every game, because I got done at the near post. Basically, the ball get crossed in. I'm stood at the near post gazing. It was Steve Bull. Just see him do that across me. He just gets the faintest of touches. It goes into the far corner. And it was a really good learning tool that stood me well for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
Because I really tried to stop anybody getting across me at the near post. And if somebody did, which obviously they did, it would break me in pieces because I knew that something wasn't right, whether it was my position, whether I wasn't opened up. And so it served me really well for the point of my career that I actually really worked hard to make sure that people didn't beat me at the near post. I'd rather somebody score by jumping over the back of me and getting above me than across the post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surely one of the centre halves would have been marking Steve Ball, no?
Well, that's what I thought. It wasn't my fault. We won't have it. No,
I'd have been like, "Hey, my man, man."
No, but he's a really good guy. I still speak with him now, and we have laughs about it. But for me, he was probably a pivotal reason why I managed to achieve a lot what I did, because he embedded in me at that time real good morals and disciplines. The way that football was back then. Obviously, it's moved on now. I'm talking 30 odd years ago, but it was. It was a good schooling.
Yeah, the thing is with Warnock, he's always spoken about in sort of like jest, isn't he, Neil Warnock? He's sort of like you only ever see the sort of things the comical things, so you don't get to appreciate how good a manager he actually was, because he's a very highly regarded manager.
He's smarter than what everybody thinks.
Yeah, massively.
There's no way. I mean, he's got the most Championship to Premier League promotions in English football.
Yeah,
you don't do that by chance. There's something about you that you're able to do that on a regular basis. I think he's very, very good at working with teams that are underdogs who don't have the best players. And I'd also say good characters within that team. Because you have to give a good character to play the way that Neil wants to play, which is very robust, which is very up and down. The ball goes back to front. If you're not a particular character, then you ain't going to run. You don't want to play that way. So there's certain traits that he makes sure that if you want to be in his team, you've got to play and be a certain way.
Do you think he was so successful because of the way he is, because he's so forthright and it's straight down the middle, no black and white. So it's either black or white, no grey. Do you think that's one of his? Do you think that's why he's done so well? Yeah,
totally get it. I mean, listen. I love football, and I just said to you, I like watching different styles of play. But I think, and one of the things I'd say to coaches and managers is that, and I heard Gary Neville say it the other day, and I thought he was spot on about Wayne Rooney, where your team's got to be you. And Neil Warnock, you see Neil on the side, spitting feathers, kicking every ball, snarling away. That's his team. And if you're a owner or a chairman, you straight away know what kind of team you're going to get. What we see now is a lot of coaches and managers want to play the Barcelona way, the Real Madrid way, which is fine. But there's only so many teams that can do that if you've got the players to do that at a particular level.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I believe that as close as you can, we can all learn from that, as I said, but as much as you can, I think a team has to mirror you as a coach or as a manager, because then I think the two connect, and that's when you get that synergy. And once you get that, it's electric.
Yeah.
Got a question in here from Peter. Says, well, probably for the pair of you, in fact, says, do you think the young players in academies are too pampered now? Probably off the back of what Neil Warnock was doing to you back in the day, Michael. But obviously now things have changed. But do you feel like they're too pampered now? That's for the pair of you.
Do you want to go first?
Well, I just think it's too easy for players to get into professional clubs these days, and I just think that it's they don't get the education that we had growing up was your district, your county, your school, your youth club, you know, your Saturday team, your Sunday team, and then if you was spotted, then you go and play for your schoolboy forms. You sign schoolboy forms at a pro club.
Yeah.
But you're still playing for you're still doing the other bits, you know, you're still learning the nitty gritty. And now I just think it's just too easy. I just think there's just hundreds of kids involved in academies these days now. And I just think it's a bit too easy for a young player to get involved with a professional club, become deluded and think I'm at a professional club now, I've made it. He's 9 or 10 and he's like, I've made it now because I'm at Arsenal. And then for age 13, 14, 15, when they release him and he's lost, you know, there's nothing. I just think, I don't know, I just think it's a bit too easy, but you know, I don't know whether I'm in a position to actually comment on it, to be honest, but that's my take on it.
I think we've all got an opinion on it, you know, whether you've been in it or not. I think it is too easy. I think, you know, I think the big question that I don't think academies ask players enough is, you know, why are you here? Because I would hazard a bet that a lot of players, families especially, like the lifestyle, what they see and perceive, but not the actual, the hard work of football. So for me, there needs to be a clear understanding of why you're here. The pampering side, I totally agree with. I mean, I came through a era where you had to do jobs as a scholar, as an apprentice. So I was doing boots, you know, kit. You know, you used to have to do kit, clear the home and away changing rooms out. You know, make sure the players' boots, designated boots that I was on, was cleaned. The shower rooms. And people might say, well, you know, actually, that's not what I've sent my son to do. But when you actually start to understand the closeness of what that does in preparation for playing football. So when I did I was on the home changing rooms. So I had to make sure the floor was mopped. The baths were all cleaned out. The actual bath taps were literally shining. The pipes for the showers, the shower floor, the toilets behind the toilets, all these things. And my youth team manager used to check it before we were dismissed.
Yeah.
What I do was really mirror that in my performance. So if there was a 30-yard run that I had to track somebody for, I was tracking that person for 30 yards because I knew the expectation of the club around excellence when you're doing a job. So when I was out in the field to do the job, the learnings that I got from doing that job off the field actually helped me on the field.
Yeah, of course.
When I was cleaning boots, the level of how I clean boots, the manager knew what kind of player that he was getting because of the detail. If I'm giving that detail to a pair of boots, imagine what I'm going to give to when I get out there. And so before you even ask the question, if I take you back to when that Steve Bull got across me, you can understand the level of detail, how it bugged me, how I would look at my job. And so when we don't do jobs, when we don't create this kind of environment, then I think it's just far too easy for youngsters just to think, do you know what, I'm just here to play football, that's it. Because that sort of leadership and doing the jobs, it gives you real core capabilities to take that into any environment.
Yeah. It's like the army, isn't it? That's like why they're taught the army to make your bed and polish your shoes first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
It sets standards. It sets professionalism.
Totally agree. There's still countries what do that, where if you're a certain age, you've got to go into the army just to get good values before you actually go into the outside world. Yeah.
Now you just got to go to an academy and do a rondo for 4 hours a day.
Michael, got a couple of questions regarding your England role. So first one is from Jake saying, Michael, who's the exciting prospects in the under-21s? So
I mean, there's no giveaways here, because obviously everybody knows about the players what are in the 21s, but there's some fantastic players what just come through. You know, obviously Bellingham, who made his 21s debut, then went into the seniors. You've got young players like Phil Foden that have stepped up, Reece James that have stepped up. I mean, we're blessed to have such a really special crop. You know, you've got Eddie Nketiah, who's broken Alan Shearer's record of scoring that. I forgot the amount of goals at under 21 level. He's done the record already and still got time on his side in the under 21s. So when you look at that crop of players, it's a really exciting. You'd like to think that English football is in an exciting place over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Which one of them
surprises me most?
Sorry,
I was saying what surprises me the most is that whole crop of players. Eddie Nketiah is breaking all these records, and he's probably the least spoken about out of the whole group. Yeah, and it's crazy. It's madness. I think he's a fantastic player, and he's got a massive future. I really hope he stays at Arsenal.
No, he's got a wonderful future. Really, as you an Arsenal fan, are you?
Yeah. The future's bright. The future's very bright.
The way you dropped that in the end, I hope he stays at Arsenal. No, he's a terrific prospect, and more important, what a terrific guy as well. He's got a great character to him, great work ethic, and I can see special things for him.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, out of the crop that you worked with, like, obviously a lot of them will go on to play in the senior team, but is there any ones in particular that really stood out? I know you mentioned Bellingham there, but is there any ones that really stood out for you and said, like, he can go far?
Well, obviously, I mean, there's age groups below me, which is 17s and the 15s and the under 20s as well. But if you're talking about the 21s, obviously, again, there's no surprises. You know, you look at people like your Bellinghams, who's got a lot of expectation on his shoulders. You've got a Phil Foden, who's, gone into Man City, gone into England and is doing well. Obviously, you've got Eddie breaking Alan Shearer's records. You've got Ben Godfrey, who's just gone over to Everton for a significant amount of money. There's so many players that you look at and you just think, wow, there's such a Callum Hudson-Odoi is in the team. It's just a under 21s littered with huge potential, and I say potential because they're still young, they're still developing. But if they fulfill that potential, my word.
Another one in from Dan regarding the England team says, are the England youngsters overachieving or are the men's team underachieving?
I wouldn't say I'd agree with either side of that. I think the results don't lie. The England under 21s team are where they are based on the fact that they're a good team and they've qualified for a major tournament, and it's exciting to be going into the tournament to see what we can achieve. But I also think the men's team, but whatever you say, we got to a semi-final of the World Cup, and so again you kind of think, what's the next step? Is that a final? is that, we're waiting for the next Euros, World Cup before we actually win something. I don't think it will be too long, because as I said, I can see what's coming up underneath the senior teams. Or, you look at the senior team now, there's 5 or 6 young players going in there. You just see Jude Bellingham in that last squad. He's 17 years old.
Yeah, for real.
That coach from Gerald.
I'll read that one out next. Very interesting one there. So, what's your take on the Premier League diversity scheme? Will we see more diversity in the backroom staff, or is it a quick fix and paper over the cracks?
Yeah, good question. It's a very good question. So, what's my take on it?
Yeah,
I think let's be honest. The diversity within senior teams in the leagues is not where it should be. In terms of when you see the representation of players playing across all leagues, that's not mirrored in senior leadership positions and managerial positions. What I would say is that you'd have to congratulate the Premier League for doing such a scheme, but I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's the answer. I don't think that just goes right. That's it. We finalised it. It's a start. But it'd be interesting to see at the end of the scheme what happens to these coaches. That for me is the proof. Are they going to be going into full-time employment? Is it 18 months of the scheme and then it's finished? Is the feedback, is what happens? And I think that for me is the real interesting part about the scheme is, okay, I'm going in there for 18 months. What happens?
Following on from that, I think it just follows in nicely. Like reading quite a bit about you, obviously over the last few days. You said you stopped counting at 42.
Yeah.
So I know it's totally different. It's like the whole year we've had with the lockdown and the coronavirus and blah blah. And so like the job situation, not obviously not applying for football jobs, but people applying for normal jobs these days now. And you can obviously, I've been in that position myself this year, and I know how good I am. Like you knew what a great coach you are, and what your abilities are. But when you get knocked back after knockback after knockback like that, and you don't get any feedback as to why, which I don't think you did on a lot of them, did you?
No.
You start questioning your own ability, and then you start looking. Well, hold on, maybe I'll just go and sweep the streets, or you get the whole black cloud comes over your head, and you start doubting your ability. I know Brendan Rodgers, the conversation you had with Brendan Rodgers helped you massively. Just a couple of words that he said to you just made something ignite in your brain. But how did you just bring yourself through that situation, get to the man you are today? Because you're pretty much at the top of your profession now, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there yet. I'll be always climbing.
Yeah.
What I would say is that I didn't question me. What I questioned was the environment. I flipped it on its head because I'm not cocky, but one thing I am is very confident, and I think it's such a fragility, that word, because you don't want to come across as cocky, but you've got to believe in yourself first and foremost. Why is anybody going to believe in me if I don't actually believe in myself?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So it was kind of like, okay, I know I'm good because I've got this, that. How come that I've got all that, but the game is not giving me an opportunity? And that's when I started to look outwards rather than inwards. And that gives me a real ease knowing that with me, I'm good. I'm actually good. I'm actually good with me. It's not with me. I can't control what the game wants to do. But what I can control is my drive, my hunger, my belief, and my knowledge. And I'll keep going. Nobody's going to stop me from getting as educated as I can. And that's what I started to bestow upon my own mind. And actually, you come to a point where you create things yourself. So, you look at the emerging
100%.
There's Player for Players just started up, an organisation that I'm involved in. and then obviously the opportunity to go work with the 21s. So I know that I'll always do what I need to do. It would have been great if I could have had the opportunity to be a manager. In fact, I'm going to correct that statement. If I had an opportunity to be a league manager on a regular basis, going up against different managers every week, but it wasn't to be, and I don't think it is going to be.
Wow. You think, is that what you think? Because you don't have, have you obviously still got the drive to do that? Do you want the ambition to be a Premier League football manager, or?
No, not anymore. I've got the ambition to now be a sporting or technical director, because I want to instill the change. I want to be the change person. I don't want to be the manager that goes in for 6 months and then you're out the door. I want to know. I want the organisation, based on my experiences, to benefit. And the only way you potentially might be able to do that is be in a position of leadership where you can embed leadership over a period of time. I don't think managers get that time, because it's all about win, win, win now. I think it was this week said, what is a project now? You don't get time to deliver a project. You've got to win.
Yeah. I know these the coaches as well, the young coaches, they pay for all these courses and stuff that they go on. I think one of the most beneficial courses I ever done in my life was a Living Leadership course. It was called the Living Leadership Dale Carnegie course.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that taught me so more than anything.
Really?
And it's transferable in life, in work, in football. And it's, and I would advise any young coach to even buy a Dale Carnegie book, download a Dale Carnegie book, or go on a Living Leadership course, because leadership plays such an important part in football and future coaching. Really, getting players to buy into what you're trying to tell them, that's a skill in itself.
Absolutely, I think it's such a wonderful choice. And you know what? And the thing what I want to add to that is that we talk about leadership, but all of us, have had leadership in it when we play football. We just don't use transferable skills. We just don't connect the dots. So I've had adaptability, resilience, teamwork, ethics. All these words that you see are values of major companies. But you've done that in your career at some point. Target setting. We've all done it, but we've just done it in a different field. So what we have to try and do is come away from the stigma that footballers are just can just run about and play football. No, they've just used their skill sets in a complete different way than what you have. It's about trying to understand the nuances of leadership. The number one thing within leadership is you're working with people. We're in the change rooms every day. So if leadership is about leading people, and you've been in the change rooms where you've had the opportunity to work with people over a number of years, that's the number one thing for me. You can talk about style of play, passing through the thirds, philosophy as much as you want. But if you don't connect with people, you don't even get to the point where you're delivering philosophy, because people are not coming into it.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Just going to read out some comments in here, quite a few, in fact. So just shout out to Saheem, first of all, saying, enjoying this conversation, quality watch as always. Peter's saying, talking about these young players, do you think it's best for them to leave current clubs to go to Germany, etc., and gain that first team experience and develop quicker?
Interesting question, because we're losing a lot of talent abroad just by the very basis of players which have obviously come from abroad and have added wonderful moments to the Premier League or the Championship. I think that will change now, because obviously we know with the new EU rules coming in, that I think that you've got to be a grade A player. You've got to play international football now for you to actually enter the country as somebody that is added to the country. So if there's not so many players coming in from abroad now, then those young players that are coming in are going to get those opportunities, as opposed to this is just a market where anybody could come in. So I think with the new EU rules, the game's going to change, because no longer will talented young players be able to come through from abroad unless they actually capped at the senior international level, where they're actually bringing an actual top-class skill set to the Premier League or the Championship.
Yeah.
Got another one here. I think this is on the back of our England under-21 question. It says, Saka, talk to me.
There's another Arsenal fan on here.
Ooh.
Your mate or what?
Saka.
Nice.
Mate, what a talent! What a talent this boy is.
This guy is probably
You're probably better to talk about Saka than me, you being an Arsenal fan.
You know what? I'm a big fan of Balogun as well. That guy has just got so much talent, and he's a beast. And I don't know what's going on in the background at Arsenal at the moment. There seems to be a lot of politics going on with him, with Ozil, players like that. But I'm so glad that Emil's got his chance. You know, Saka's got his chance, and they're taking it. You know, because and they are taking it. Saka's now probably the best player in the team. And he's just playing with such confidence. And it's like every time you tell your players to go out, go and enjoy it and express yourself, and it just looks like they've got no inhibitions. They're just going out there. They're just doing their thing, and it's just a joy to see. So Saka, another one. I just hope he stays at Arsenal forever, you know, because I love him. He's great.
He's a good player, and the majority of the games I've seen at Arsenal this year, he's been a standout player.
Yeah.
Have you seen him for England yet, Michael?
Yeah, he came in. I mean, he didn't spend long with the 21s. He was too good, and then he got promoted up to the seniors. But what I've seen of him and worked with him is a very, very good player, more than capable of handling it at the senior level. That's for sure.
Yeah, I saw something on him yesterday on Twitter, a video that he came out of school with like 5 A-star GCSEs. Like, you know, so he's a clever boy as well, you know, so I love him.
Got another one here for you, Michael, saying, Michael, do you have one set of personal goals you're trying to achieve within football, or do you go with the flow and let things occur naturally? Shakes his head.
No, I listen, for me, if I don't have a vision, I'm done. I'm always setting goals. Always. I'm always looking to achieve the next. I think that's why when you said to me earlier about, you're top of the game, for me, no, there's more to come. I've got to keep moving. I've got to keep striving. So for me, goal setting is a major thing. Is a major thing for me to achieve. That's why I did the question when I spoke about management, because actually I'd been the manager of Guyana, so I wanted to stop myself in the tracks and said, no, you've achieved that one. Okay, what's next? So what's next for me is trying to get to a point where, you know, you're helping a major organization in terms of building a lot of infrastructure that allows diversity, quality, all the things that I believe in. You want to try and build that into an organization.
Got one here from Richard as well. Do you think there are enough opportunities in football for a manager/coach who hasn't played pro to make it in league football?
No, I don't think there's enough. It's a real interesting question, that, because, you know, number one, the barriers to that in itself are so difficult. Barriers I mean, you know, you look at the licenses you need to get on. You know, I think the starting price for some of the licenses, B licenses, and then A license, and then the pro license, you know, you're probably into the best part of 15 grand without no guarantee anything's at the end of it. So footballers are quite fortunate that they have the ability to get on these licenses, but even then, there's no guarantee. So I think, you know, there is opportunities. I'm not going to say it can't be done. We've seen some managers who have not played the game who have done it, but it's very interesting how it's done. I think the best starting place is in academies, and then trying to crawl up the ladder, whether it's an under 8s, 10s, 12s, and then starting to climb up the ladder in terms of when an opportunity comes, you might be able to get further and further and further up until you might one day be in that first team environment. But you know what? I say it again. I think everybody wants to be in the first team. but there's some terrific opportunities at being a specialist, whether it's under 12s, under 16s, or under 18s. I know that everybody wants to be there, but why can't somebody be the best under 18 coach in the land and be happy with the under 18s or the under 12s? And so I feel that sometimes it's about finding your niche and what you enjoy working with. And I think the rest of the game, whether it's finance or whether it's the exposure of being the best, if that's what you want, the exposure, it will come with the very fact that you have really been an expert at what you're delivering.
You mentioned Guyana. I want to take you to that point as well. So talk to me about that whole experience there. Like, you got to manage a country, man. That's crazy in itself. Like, talk me through that. How did that come about? What was that like?
It was great. I mean, I got an opportunity to do it. I got headhunted into a pool of 200 coaches that went down to 10, and then finally 5. And then I interviewed via Zoom, and then I was told 2 or 3 days afterwards that I'd been given the job. I need to fly to the country to obviously sign up and meet the media. I'll give you a funny story here. So obviously it's a country, and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be something special. So I'm debating with my wife before going down, what do I wear on the plane? You know, it's 8 hours. I can't be doing it in a suit. Do you know what I mean? I need a tracksuit or something. She goes, no, you can't be going. You're the head coach of a country. The media's going to be there. The fans are going to be there. So I goes, all right, I tell you what, I'm going to wear the old whistle and flute. So I've got me all suited and booted, 8 hours. I land in Guyana. I thought, right, here I go. Tie up, do you know what I mean? Blazer, looking slick. Anyway, as I walk down the obviously off the plane, I go across the concrete tarmac. This obviously the doors before it opens up into the actual part where you go through passport control. So my mind's going, right, you sign for a country, I know what's going to happen here. You come through passport control, media galore. I know what's happening here. So I'm there dabbing away the old forehead, get through passport control, doors open. Do you know how many people were there?
How many?
Just one with a Michael Johnson. So they didn't even know I was. Well, I had to undo the tie, you give it the old I could have stopped my trackie on. No, but it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was fantastic. It's a cricketing country. They were low down in the FIFA rankings, had never been to a major footballing tournament. So the expectations of me coming in weren't, they weren't great, but they said, listen, what do you think we can do? And my first statement was, we have to believe we can qualify. There's no way I'm traveling halfway around the world if I didn't believe we could do something. And within 18 months, we did, something that's never been done in that country, which was to qualify. I think the way we got it, we did a really good job with recruitment. So, I talk about people like Paul Williams, the ex Nottingham Forest Brentford manager, was absolutely excellent for me. Another guy, Taff Raymond, who's now at Luton on the Premier League placement scheme. You've got Asa Luto, a recruitment guy who's now at Man City. These guys work their socks off. Adi Bankola, is Queen's Park Rangers academy coach. So we did something really special down there, and we worked really hard at it. And because of the professionalism of what we brought, we then started to attract many players that had left or were not interested. And predominantly, a lot of them were from the lower leagues. And we managed to get them over, and we started to do something, and we knew that we weren't going to be too far off it.
I was going to ask about that as well. Like, where does the players come from? Do they mainly come from that country, or do they come from over here? Because there's a couple of players that I noticed. Obviously, Sam Cox was the captain for you. Neil Downs, who obviously played for Tranmere, to name a few. But what do you actively go out to recruit from the lower leagues over here, or is it a mix of both?
Well, this is the work that we did. Our recruitment specialist, Asa, We did a marvelous job. And this is funny as well. I had my lad playing FIFA, and he was playing FIFA, and every time there was a Guyanese player, he would shout at me, Dad, I found another Guyanese player. Run up the stairs and go, where? And actually, there was 2 or 3 players that we found who had Guyanese heritage based on FIFA.
Wow.
You scouted players from FIFA. Is that?
Yeah, I'm being honest. I actually went down to what's the Football Manager?
Yeah.
I went down to Football Manager because I knew the guy who's connected to Watford, and he actually runs Football Manager. Hence why you'll see on Watford's sponsorship, it's Football Manager. And I knew him and I said, look, I need a favour. I need to know where all these Guyanese players are. And obviously in Football Manager, all the players just... And he helped me out. He said, look, you've got players here in Canada, you've got players in the US, you've got one in Portugal. And so we got in touch with these players. So quite quickly, the team and the squad changed. But we had to be smart with the change because we didn't want to isolate homegrown. That was the DNA of Guyana. So it's great bringing players in from Canada and States and the UK, but there's no way that can be the substitute of the players in Guyana. So it was a real intelligent way of how did we try and mix things? How did culturally we try and connect?
Yeah, interesting. What was the I was to say, well, on last thing, what was the facilities like? Because obviously
weren't great. Again, it's a cricketing country.
Yeah, one pitch, isn't there? There's like one pitch there.
There was one pitch, and you might as well say it had a game on every night. So you can imagine the state of the pitch.
Oh.
So it just wasn't feasible to play a certain brand of football on it. We just couldn't. If we were going to play the way that maybe you'd think an international team would play, then more often than not, I don't think we'd have been sitting here talking about Guyana qualifying for a Gold Cup. We had to be smart with how we wanted to play. So the facilities weren't great, but now the legacy of what's happened is now they've got a state-of-the-art 3G pitch with dormitories which allow players from across the country now to go in there over a week's camp, stay on site, get food, but also play on a top-class surface.
Brilliant. I felt it was funny when I do my team talk. When the players are getting their boots on and they're finishing off their tapes, it's like, right, eyes up. I'm talking now, eyes up. Yeah. But like you say, they can't look you in the eye in Guyana. They're players because they're taught not to look your elders in the eye as a mark of respect. I'd have been like, what's wrong with this lot?
And that's such an important point. There's different cultural awarenesses that we need to understand when we're working with different players from different backgrounds.
Was you advised on that though before you went into the tangent? Right.
Yeah, I was. And one of the things what obviously we do in England is that a sign of respect is when you go look I'm talking to you, so you connect with eyes. Where in certain countries you can't do that. An elder would see that as disrespectful if a younger one's looking them in the eyes. So when you take the coaching fraternity now, and this is why diversity in senior leadership is so important in football clubs and academies, because these are small things that we may not understand. Yeah. So when I did that in Guyana, and I was in disbelief, like, this guy's not even looking at me. Do you know how rude is that? For me, that's not on. And the coach said to me, no, you have to understand that in Guyana, we're taught not to look at our elders in the eyes. It's a sign of respect. And I was like,
do you know what? I wonder how many players on the non-league circuit, because obviously in the pro game you advise more about, you've got more detail about the players. But I wonder how many players in the non-league scene are culturally brought up that way, but then are just tarnished with the brush of the bad egg brush. Yeah, because I wouldn't have known it until I knew we were speaking to you and I read about you. I would never have known that. So I could have had a player. I could have got rid of him because I would have thought he's ignorant. I don't want him around. He's not even looking at me.
And that's the thing that we have to be so aware of, the the cultural differences and the nuances of coming from another country or being grown up in a different culture in your house. And you know, if you don't have diversity in your club at the senior levels, you're losing something, because there might be a child struggling with something that you as a coach, no matter what background you come from, whether you're black, white, Asian, or whatever, at least if you can tap into this expertise or this person that understands, you can ask the question and then now go back with that information and deal with the problem a lot better than trying to go, well, he's rude, or do you know what, I'm not having it. Because there's maybe reasons unbeknown to you that culturally there's something completely different. You know, whether it's, you know that the Chinese culture is different completely to the English, as opposed to the African, as opposed to the Caribbean. So we have to make sure that we have diversity, because the game is so diverse now. You look at the Premier League, you look at the Championship, you look at the England teams. It's multicultural.
Yeah.
What would you say was your main learning point from the whole experience over there with the team?
That's a good point. Is that for me or as a actual the whole thing?
Could be for both, for you, and then
For me, it was belief, and I'll tell you why. Because all these courses that I'd been on, all these years of playing, I wanted to, as I said to you, I wanted to be able to deliver something. I wanted to be able to do something that I can go, do you know what, it worked. And so when the Guyana piece came and the challenge was, well, we've never qualified, you know, what do you think you can do? That was like, that for me was like my favorite cup of tea with my favorite biscuits. That was like, give me more of those biscuits. I'm not running away from that. That's what I want to hear. Because it was a real chance to drive change, culture, and achieve something. So for me, the whole thing personally was about belief. And for the project, it was about giving back. You know, all of a sudden there was pride given into a country that had never qualified for something. The day after we qualified was like a national holiday. The players felt like, you know, Premier League players the night. Everywhere they went, you know, the parties were on the street. You know, they were buying the players drinks, and they was out all night. And then the final thing for me was when we actually played in Guyana, to see families being brought together and putting on the shirt and pride. And wherever you were in the world as a Guyanese, you could actually sit there and watch your team play on a major tournament. And so for me, the actual giving back part was so special. And the funny thing was, when we qualified, all the players were trying to say, Gaffer, you got to come out. Do you know how I celebrated that night? I went upstairs, said a prayer, and had a cup of tea and a biscuit, and went to bed.
That's what that is.
Literally, all the players, they were off, and obviously I said to them, go and enjoy your night. But I just went upstairs, said a prayer, cup of tea, one biscuit. Thank you very much. Good night.
What biscuit did you have?
Digestives.
Boring.
Nah, hey, you know what? My favourites were chocolate hobnobs.
Oh, mate, yes. I'm gonna get a pack out of my bag and show you. I'll take a pack a day to work.
If you've got the biscuits, I'll make a cup of tea. You can pass me a few of those biscuits over here.
Mate, they are the elite. They are the Michael Johnson of biscuits. And how many people was waiting at the airport the next time you went after qualifying and all that, or have you not been yet?
Yeah, it was different.
There was more than one.
Yeah, it was different. After that, there was a lot more. It was great. Yeah, I mean, we started to travel to places, and you'd pull up at the airport now, and you'd see fans with the flags, because obviously the brand now is a little bit stronger. It was getting out there what we was achieving. So it was great to go to countries. We go to the hotels, and we had to have security because there was fans. whether that was in America or whether that was in Brazil. We had fans waiting in the hotel because obviously the team were doing so well.
Yeah. And what? Forgive my ignorance now. What happened at the end there, or has it not ended? I know you're at England now, but is the Guyana ongoing?
Yeah, what happened was I actually got an opportunity to go to the 21s straight after the Gold Cup. So the Gold Cup ended where we finished third out of a group of fourth, which was music to my ears. I got a really close friend of mine, Dennis Lawrence, and me and Dennis were vying for the bottom. Obviously, there was Trinidad and there was Panama, who England played in the World Cup, and there was the States. Now, the States had gone in terms of players, finances, home soil, so everything was leaning towards the States. We knew that Panama would obviously probably get second place, but they just qualified for the World Cup 2018. So for me and Dennis, it was kind of like, okay, how do we try and go about it, trying to get that second spot? And obviously we didn't achieve it, but it was great not to finish at the bottom. I always say to Dennis, it was great not to. You're my mate, but it was great not to finish at the bottom. You're tight, but you know what, Dennis?
There's no mates in football. There's no mates.
He's a great guy. I love him, man.
And did the England thing come from that, or was there?
Yeah, so it was the under-21s team came about, and obviously when I came back from the tournament, I heard about it, and a lot of my colleagues in the game were saying, look, you've got all the requisites to do this. You've got all the qualifications. You've just had an amazing year with Guyana on the international stage, so you know about international football. Why would you not go for it? And I was thinking about, obviously getting back home, spending time with the family. This is right on my doorstep. I'm in Derby. St. George's Park is literally half an hour away. Let's go for it. And went for it, and was successful.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah, so
I'm quite flattered that I'm actually speaking to you, to be honest.
You know how we roll.
We're all mates now.
Hey,
we're all mates.
Hey, me and you'll have a cup of tea and a couple of hobnobs, mate. Don't worry about that. Forget the part. We'll have a cup of tea and hobnobs.
I'll tell you what. I'll come and watch a session. at St. George's, and I'll bring you as many chocolate hobnobs as you want.
Good.
There you go. Sweet. I'll get on the phone to McVitie's in a minute.
Michael, you mentioned you're at Derby now, right? So you're ambassador for Derby. How's things going there? Obviously, you've got Wayne Rooney there now. He's
not a bad player, is he, Wayne?
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, it's been a mad year in terms of what's happened off the field, on the field. Obviously, where Derby are, potential sale of the club, Wayne Rooney coming in. So it's not been a great year for us, but to have somebody like Wayne at the club's been a magnificent. I don't think Derby's been on the TV more times than what it's been since Wayne's been in charge. I know Frank was here a few years back, but it's just been a different level. And actually the team, has been performing really good of late.
What was he like when he came to the club? Like, what was his presence like? Was he humble? Was he just still had that hunger? What was he like?
He's always going to have that hunger because he's a winner. And what happens is that Wayne Rooney gets smarter because your body can't do what it did when it was 17, 18, 19. You remember the way he used to play the game. But what's undeniable is when the ball comes to his feet, the ability he has is vision to see a pass, but not only to see the pass, but to execute the pass. And so you have to be smart with how you play him and where you play him, because he's not going to go on marauding runs. He's not going to, be tearing up and down for 90 minutes. So you've got to be really intelligent about how do you get the best out of him in the latter part of his career. But undeniable was when the ball was at his feet, he could literally hit anyone from anywhere.
And he's now just taking that into management now, like that same hunger and desire. Because he's worked under obviously worked under Sir Alex, Louis Van Gaal. I believe he said Sir Louis Van Gaal was one of his favourites. So he's worked under some really big bosses, obviously even at international level as well.
Yeah. Do you know what's going to be interesting? And again, Gary Neville hit the nail on the head when he said it. I hope Wayne's going to be like a gunslinger of a manager. You know, very, very similar to the Atletico Madrid manager, Simone.
Yeah.
Where he's just got his team snarling and they don't give you a second on the ball, as opposed to, you know, okay, let's split from the back and let's play through the. Wayne's going to be Wayne, and I think we've seen that in his team since he's gone in, and it's been great to see how his personality and his DNA is been on that team. It's going to be interesting. It really is, because the season at the minute for Derby is poised in a way that we're still down at the bottom, so we need to get out. So it's going to be interesting how he continues the next few months.
As an ex-player and obviously as a top coach now, where do you rate Wayne in the sort of top 10 of English-born players?
I think he's going to be up there. I mean, you don't break the record for Man United in England if you're not pulling your weight. He's got to be in the top 10. I mean, I find it really hard to answer the question, because the eras of Bobby Charlton, Jack Charlton.
I had him in top 10.
Yeah, I'd say he's got to be in the top 10. You know, Man United's not a small club. England's not a small nation. He's got some great goal scorers, and he's up there with both of them. His trophy cabinet is littered with everything. So he's got to be up there for me in the top 10.
Yeah. You say about, so going back to your playing days, you say about Steve Ball and his squad. Who is your toughest opponent that you played against? Who did you hate playing against?
I think the toughest one was Thierry Henry. I've got to say it. He was. We got beat at Birmingham 4-0 one day. It could have been. You know what? I was glad to get off there with the 4. That's how good they were. And that was the year where they went throughout the whole season without getting beat.
Yeah.
The team they had, you had got Pires, you had Rootz, you've got Ashley Cole, you've got Dennis Bergkamp, you've got Bolt.
Didn't you nearly upset that record at home at Highbury? Didn't you was it close?
Yeah, we nearly upset the record, but nearly. Hey, I'm glad you remember it, because nobody's gone to me.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember is Darren Purse just chasing after him. Like,
Yeah. That year they were unstoppable. I mean, the quality. I look back now and I look at the team that they had. You know, I remember being in the tunnel, right? And I remember because we had a French guy called Christophe Dugarry that played. I'm sure Percy was talking about Dugarry.
Darren said he was the best player he's ever played with.
Without shadow of doubt. Shadow of doubt. Obviously, World Cup winner, had the looks. Yeah. He was a good player. And I always remember the build-up to the week. He said, you got to be on your guard with this team. He said, this team has got everything. I'm thinking, cheers, pal. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be talking it down.
Best player telling you that.
And I just remember being in the tunnel, right? And when you look and it's just a mismatch in size and athleticism. Like every one of these players were like 6'1" plus. The only small one was Ashley Cole and Rootz.
Yeah.
We had Patrick Vieira, 6'3", 6'4". Bergkamp, 6'1". Emmanuel Petit, 6'1". Adams, Bold. It was just the land of the giants, but they all could play.
Yeah, that's what I think the only team you could sort of compare them to now would be Liverpool. I think that's the closest match would be the Liverpool team of today. The way there was, because there was old school at the back,
Yeah.
And it was funny how it worked because you had an old back line, and then it was just like get the ball as quick as you can to the 6 players that are going to destroy the other team's defence. And probably the only one who could play pretty much at the back, out of the back 4, would probably be Ashley Cole. You had Adams, Ball, Lee Dixon. They're not ball players, are they? They're just going to get the ball. Perez and Will Hall and get it forward.
It's a great team. It's a great team. So Henri. And I remember on that day, and this is so true, right? There was a lad called Steve Vickers. Me and him played centre back, and we got to a point where we were just running up to try and play offside. Because we didn't know what to do. If we stayed too high, they would spin the ball in behind us, and there's only one runner, so we dropped off. If we dropped off, they would slide the ball, and you'd get turned and run at you. And because when he runs at you, once he pushes it, you ain't catching him. So
you're falling backwards.
So it was a question of what do you do? You know, you drop off, he turns at you. You get tight, they've got the ability to just drop it over your head. He made those little runs where he just peels off you. And the ball just finds that space just over your head, and you're like, oh no. It was exceptional.
One of the guys asking questions, Dan Paul, he does videos for us. And one of the videos that obviously he put, one of the clips that he put on his video is the Vuvuzela. Have you still got that?
Yeah.
Did you keep that?
I've got the hat, not the I've got the hat, not the Vuvuzela.
Because they was massive at that time, wasn't they? The Vuvuzelas, they was a big thing.
We used in World Cups and stuff.
Yeah, those at the World Cup, when I think it was like Colombia or someone like that just went crazy.
Yeah, it was madness. I mean, obviously that was one of the best days ever. That to play at the stadium there and to be successful against Norwich was tremendous. You know, I can't believe that next 2022 is 20 years ago. It just flies by.
Was Jamie Curriton playing for Norwich that day, or was he not at the club then?
No, he wasn't at the club then.
Right. He's on tomorrow night. We've got him on tomorrow night, haven't we, Clint? We'll be speaking to Jamie tomorrow.
Yeah, he was a good player. Jamie was, by the way, my word. He was aggressive, and he could finish. He used to be one of those kind of centre forwards that if he got half a yard, he was taking it left foot and right foot. The defender, you never quite got time to get back and recover. And he was that good of a striker of the ball that he would hit the target. And I think that's how he scored majority. I always used to, the night before, I used to play the game in my mind about the player that I'm playing against. And I always remembered whenever I used to play against Jamie Curtin, I would sit there and go, you cannot give him half a yard anywhere, let him get away from you, because if he does, he's not going to run past you. But by the time you get to him, the ball's on the way to the goal because he's hitting it. So you've got to always be in and around him.
Yeah. Got a last couple of questions here just before we finish off. So Richard's asked, what was it like playing alongside Robbie Savage?
Robbie Savage, I mean, Sav's a great lad. He's funny, he's witty. You wouldn't want to play against him because he just winds you up. But to have him on your team winding up others was brilliant for us. You know, he already unrattled 3 or 4 of their players just by the very nature of the kind of player he was. You literally, one of those toys where you just wind it up.
Yeah.
That's him. I wouldn't say technically, and he would probably kick me for saying this, I wouldn't say technically the best, but what he had was a heart, and he would literally run all day. He would close people down. He would, unrattle. He would rattle people. He was a good teammate to have on your team.
Yeah, he was a pest, wasn't he? He was a pest, and then you don't like playing against people like that. They're just rattling. It just upsets your game, doesn't it? You're like, go away.
It's like, when you're on holiday and you just, when you're on holiday and you're just on your deck chair, you're just relaxing. The sun's nice, and then you've got this.
He's a gnat.
Oh, get away! you know that one. And all of a sudden, you get the old paper, don't you? You're like,
And then you keep missing it, and he just keeps looking at it. He's on there like that.
Hey,
Still here, mate.
Eventually, what you do, you take your deck chair and you move somewhere else, don't you? Well, that was him. That was him.
Got another one here from Jake. He said, "Did you start your coaching pathway before you finished, or after?"
No, that's a brilliant question. I started afterwards. Sorry, I started just as I was finishing. So when I was at Notts County, I retired at 37 years old, and just as I was coming towards the end of retirement, towards retiring, Sven Goran was there, and Sven spoke to me about, what you're going to do next, and I wasn't quite sure, and he encouraged me to take my badges, and then I started to be an assistant manager to the under 15s and 16s. They both were playing at the same age. And I would go on a Sunday morning and I would work with the coach on a Thursday evening. And that's how I started my coaching journey. And that's how I would definitely say to any players currently playing is to start somewhere. And that's going back to the advice about starting on working up. That's what I did. 1 day a week with the academy in the 15s and 16s. And then eventually I went under 18s coach, then went into under 23s, and then obviously got on board with Guyana and stuff. But, that's how I started.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that so much. I've learned so much from you. I really appreciate it.
Just remember next time to bring the hobnob, yeah?
Well, if I can come to one of your sessions and just watch your sessions, I'll buy you a year supply.
Mate, it's done, mate. It's done.
Happy days. Thank you so much. I'm there. As long as you can, I'll give you one of these Bishop Stortford Swifts coats. I'll bring that. You can wear.
I look forward to it.
Super. Thank you everyone for listening as well and watching, and thank you for your questions as well. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night as well. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you